Late-night TV was rocked last night when John Oliver stormed off the Late Show stage after an increasingly heated exchange with Stephen Colbert. What started as friendly banter quickly spiraled into a bitter argument, leaving the audience stunned, as Oliver tore off his microphone and refused to continue the interview. The studio lights dimmed, and the familiar sound of jazz filled the air as Stephen Colbert bounded onto the stage of The Late Show. The audience cheered wildly, their excitement growing even louder when Colbert announced his guest for the evening. Tonight, we have a very special guest joining us. He's the host of Last Week Tonight, my former colleague from The Daily Show, and the man who keeps trying to steal my Emmy nominations. Please welcome John Oliver. The crowd erupted in applause as John Oliver walked onto the stage, waving enthusiastically. The two hosts embraced briefly before settling into their seats, Oliver adjusting his glasses as he smiled at the audience. "John, it's great to have you back on the show," Colbert said, his signature smirk playing at the corners of his mouth. "How have you been?" "I've been well, Stephen, thank you for asking," Oliver replied in his distinct British accent. "Although I must say, the state of American politics continues to give me more material than I can possibly use in a week." Colbert nodded, taking a sip from his mug. "Speaking of politics, your show has been pretty vocal about certain issues lately. Some might even say you've been leaning further left than usual." Oliver chuckled, but there was a slight edge to his voice. When he responded, "Well, I wouldn't say that. I think we just follow where the facts lead us." "The facts, or your personal opinions dressed up as facts?" Colbert's tone was light, but his words carried weight. The audience responded with a mix of oohs and nervous laughter. Oliver shifted in his seat, his smile faltering slightly. "I think you know me well enough to know that we do thorough research for our shows," Oliver replied. "We have a team of fact-checkers who work incredibly hard." Of course," Colbert said, waving his hand dismissively. "But let's talk about your recent episode on climate change policy. You essentially called anyone who questions the Green New Deal a science-denying dinosaur. Isn't that a bit extreme?" The camera caught Oliver's expression, hardening. "I don't think it's extreme to call out policies that ignore scientific consensus. No. But isn't there room for debate on the economic impacts?" Colbert pressed. "Not everyone who questions the implementation is denying climate change." "Stephen, when the house is on fire, you don't debate the cost of water," Oliver responded, his voice rising slightly. "You put out the fire." The tension in the studio was becoming palpable. The audience had grown quieter, sensing that this wasn't the usual playful banter between colleagues. "Interesting analogy," Colbert said, leaning forward. "But what if your solution to the fire is to flood the entire neighborhood? Shouldn't we consider the consequences?" Oliver's face flushed. "That's a ridiculous comparison, and you know it." "Is it?" Colbert asked, his eyebrows raised. "Or is it just inconvenient for your narrative? You know, John, sometimes I think your show has become less about informing people and more about telling them what to think." The audience gasped. This was no longer friendly banter. Colbert was directly challenging Oliver's journalistic integrity. "That's rich coming from you," Oliver shot back, his British accent becoming more pronounced as his anger grew. "Your monologues aren't exactly balanced political analyses." "At least I admit I'm doing comedy," Colbert retorted. "You present yourself as some kind of journalistic authority, when really you're just another comedian with opinions." The tension in the room was now unbearable. Oliver's knuckles were white as he gripped the arms of his chair. "I think you're being incredibly unfair right now." "Am I? Or am I just not nodding along with the John Oliver echo chamber?" Colbert's voice had a mocking edge to it. "Your audience is so trained to applaud at your moral outrage that they don't even question if you might be oversimplifying complex issues." "That's completely uncalled for," Oliver said, his voice dangerously quiet. "My team works incredibly hard to present these issues fairly." "Fairly?" Like when you did that piece on libertarianism and essentially portrayed all libertarians as selfish lunatics. Colbert laughed. Or when you tackled gun control and made it seem like anyone who supports the Second Amendment is personally responsible. For school shootings? Oliver stood up abruptly, his chair scraping across the floor. I don't have to sit here and be insulted by someone who used to stand for something before he got a network paycheck. The audience fell completely silent. Colbert seemed momentarily taken aback by the personal attack, but quickly regained his composure. Sit down, John. If you can't handle criticism, maybe you shouldn't be in this business. Criticism? This isn't criticism. This is you ambushing me for ratings. Oliver shot back, his voice trembling with anger. I came here as a friend, not to be your punching bag. Colbert spread his hands innocently. I'm just asking questions, John. Isn't that what you claim to do on your show? Or do you only like tough questions when you're the one asking them? The camera zoomed in on Oliver's face, which had turned a deep shade of red. The veins in his neck were visible as he struggled to maintain his composure. You know what, Stephen? I've always respected you, even when we disagreed. But this, he gestured around wildly, this cheap shot performance is beneath you. Is it beneath me to question your approach? Colbert asked, his voice deceptively calm. Or is it beneath you to consider that maybe, just maybe, your show has become exactly the kind of one-sided propaganda that you claim to be fighting against? That was the final straw. The audience watched in shock as John Oliver reached for his lapel microphone. I can't do this, he said, his voice shaking with emotion as he ripped the microphone from his jacket. This isn't a conversation. It's an ambush, and I won't be part of it. The studio fell into shocked silence as Oliver dropped the microphone onto the desk with a loud thud. Colbert's eyes widened, clearly not expecting this extreme reaction from his guest. John, come on, Colbert said, his tone suddenly softer. We're just having a debate here. That's what we do. No, Stephen, Oliver replied, standing up straight and adjusting his suit jacket. What you're doing is attacking me personally under the guise of a friendly interview. You invited me here knowing exactly what you were going to do. The audience remained silent, many viewers capturing the moment on their phones. The cameras continued to roll, the producers apparently deciding this dramatic moment was too good to cut away from. I didn't realize you were so sensitive about your work, Colbert said, his voice carrying a hint of mockery. I thought you could take as well as you give. Oliver laughed bitterly. There's a difference between a friendly jab and what you're doing. You're deliberately twisting everything I stand for to make me look like some kind of radical extremist. Am I? Colbert stood up now too, the two hosts facing each other in a standoff that had the audience holding their breath. Or am I simply pointing out the hypocrisy in how you present your arguments? You claim to be fair and balanced, but you only ever tell one side of the story. That's absolutely not true, Oliver shot back, jabbing a finger in Colbert's direction. We present the facts. If those facts happen to align with a particular viewpoint, that's not our fault. Facts can be cherry-picked, John. You know that better than anyone. Colbert's voice grew louder. You lecture your audience week after week about what they should think, how they should vote, what causes they should support. I provide context and information so people can make informed decisions. Oliver's British accent became even more pronounced as his anger grew. Something that's sorely lacking in most media coverage. Colbert scoffed. Informed by your perspective and your perspective alone. When was the last time you had someone on your show who genuinely disagreed with you? When was the last time you gave a fair hearing to the other side of an argument? We don't need to platform harmful viewpoints just for the sake of balance, Oliver retorted, making air quotes with his fingers. Some ideas don't deserve equal time. And you get to be the arbiter of which ideas those are? Colbert asked, his eyebrows raised. That's awfully convenient, isn't it? Judge, jury, and executioner of what opinions are acceptable? The audience was completely captivated now, watching the verbal sparring match like a tennis game, heads swiveling back and forth between the two hosts. "This is ridiculous," Oliver said, shaking his head. "You're deliberately misrepresenting everything I stand for, everything my show stands for." "I'm challenging you, John. That's what good journalism does. It challenges assumptions. It asks the hard questions." Colbert's voice dripped with sarcasm. "Or is that only okay when you're the one doing the challenging?" Oliver's face flushed an even deeper shade of red. "Don't you dare lecture me about journalism. My team spends weeks researching each story. We cover. We talk to experts. We read primary sources. We fact-check everything. And then you wrap it all up in a neat little package that tells your viewers exactly what conclusion they should draw," Colbert replied. "You're not informing them. You're indoctrinating them." The audience gasped at the accusation. Oliver looked genuinely hurt for a brief moment before his expression hardened again. "You know what, Stephen? I used to respect you. I used to think we were on the same side, the side of truth." Oliver's voice was quieter now, but no less intense. "But this cheap ratings grab at my expense. It shows me who you really are." "And who is that, John?" Colbert asked, crossing his arms. "Someone who's forgotten what it means to speak truth to power," Oliver replied. "Someone who's become exactly what they used to mock." The audience let out a collective ooh at the personal attack. Colbert's face twitched, a sign that Oliver's words had hit home. "That's rich coming from you," Colbert recovered quickly. "You sit in your HBO bubble once a week, preaching to the converted. When was the last time you had to actually defend your ideas against someone who disagreed with you? When was the last time you had your assumptions challenged?" "Every single day," Oliver exclaimed, throwing his hands up in frustration. "We challenge our own assumptions constantly. We revise our scripts. We double-check our sources. We make sure we're being fair." "Fair according to whom?" Colbert pressed. "According to your writers who all think exactly like you do? According to your audience who tunes in specifically to have their existing beliefs validated?" Oliver took a deep breath, visibly trying to calm himself. "I didn't come here for this, Stephen. I came here to promote my show and talk about our upcoming special on healthcare reform." "Ah, yes, let me guess," Colbert said with a smirk. "Private healthcare bad, universal healthcare good. Evil corporations are keeping Americans sick for profit." "You're oversimplifying a nuanced argument," Oliver protested, his patience clearly wearing thin. "Am I? Or have I just watched enough of your show to know exactly what you're going to say before you say it?" Colbert retorted. A production assistant appeared at the edge of the stage, making cutting motions with her hands, signaling that they should wrap up or go to commercial. Both hosts ignored her. "You want to know why your criticisms don't land, Stephen?" Oliver said, his voice dangerously quiet. "Because you're not actually engaging with anything I've done or said. You're attacking a caricature, a straw man you've built up in your mind." "I'm challenging you to defend your approach," Colbert insisted. "Something you clearly aren't prepared to do." "No, you're trying to embarrass me on national television to boost your ratings," Oliver replied. "And I won't play that game anymore." With that, Oliver turned and began walking toward the exit at the side of the stage. Colbert, seemingly surprised by this development, called after him. "John, come on! We still have another segment to do," Colbert shouted, but Oliver kept walking. The audience watched in stunned silence as Oliver reached the edge of the stage. He turned back briefly, looking directly at Colbert. "You know what's truly sad, Stephen?" Oliver said, his voice carrying across the silent studio. "You used to be the person who taught me that comedy could speak truth to power. Now you're just another talking head going for cheap shots." Colbert's confident demeanor faltered for the first time. "That's not fair, John. I'm just asking the questions that—" "No," Oliver interrupted, his voice firm. "You're not asking questions. You're making accusations disguised as questions. There's a difference." The camera caught Colbert swallowing, hard as he struggled to maintain control of the situation that was rapidly spiraling away from him. "Look, maybe I was a bit harsh," Colbert said, taking a step toward Oliver. "But that's what we do, right? We challenge each other. We push each other's buttons." "There's a line, Stephen," Oliver replied. "And you didn't just cross it. You obliterated it. You attacked not just my show, but my integrity, my entire purpose for doing what I do." The audience remained completely silent, captivated by the real drama unfolding before them. No one was checking their phones or whispering to their neighbors. All eyes were locked on the two hosts. "You think I don't care about the truth?" Oliver continued, his voice rising. "You think I don't lose sleep over making sure we get things, right? My team works around the clock to verify every claim, to make sure we're not misleading people." "I know you work hard, John," Colbert said, his tone softer now, sensing the depth of Oliver's hurt. "I just think sometimes your passion gets ahead of your objectivity. And your desire for ratings gets ahead of your decency," Oliver shot back. He pointed at the cameras. "Is this what it's all about now? Creating viral moments? Generating headlines about Colbert destroys Oliver?" A nervous producer was frantically signaling from the side of the stage, making cutting motions across her throat. The show needed to go to commercial, but neither man seemed to care. "That's not what this is," Colbert protested, though his eyes briefly darted toward the camera, betraying his awareness of the viral potential of this moment. "Isn't it?" Oliver challenged. "Because from where I'm standing, this feels like an ambush, designed specifically to humiliate me and boost your ratings." The studio audience shifted uncomfortably in their seats. This wasn't the light-hearted entertainment they had come to see. This was raw, genuine conflict between two of late night's biggest stars. "John, please," Colbert said, gesturing toward the chair. "Come back and let's talk about this like adults." "I tried to talk like adults," Oliver replied. "You weren't interested in a conversation. You were interested in a public execution." A murmur rippled through the audience. Some people were nodding in agreement with Oliver, while others looked confused or uncomfortable. "That's not true," Colbert insisted, looking increasingly desperate to salvage the situation. "I respect you, John. I always have." "Respect?" Oliver laughed bitterly. "Is that what you call what just happened? Because it felt a lot like disrespect to me." The producer was now on stage, whispering urgently in Colbert's ear. He waved her away impatiently, his focus entirely on trying to prevent his guest from walking out. "John, this is television," Colbert said, spreading his arms wide. "We push boundaries. We create moments. That's what we do." "No," Oliver said firmly. "What we do is use comedy to reveal truth. What we don't do is attack each other for sport." The audience applauded spontaneously at Oliver's words, causing Colbert to look around in surprise. The tide of public opinion in the room seemed to be turning against him. "I've always admired your conviction, John," Colbert said, his tone more genuine now. "Even when I disagree with your conclusions, I've never questioned your intentions." "Until tonight," Oliver pointed out, unmoved by Colbert's attempt to backpedal. "Tonight, you questioned everything about me. My integrity, my purpose, my work." Colbert took a deep breath. "Maybe I got carried away. Maybe I was trying too hard to create a moment." "At least you're being honest now," Oliver said. Then he looked directly into the camera. "This is the problem with television today. Everything has to be extreme. Everything has to be a confrontation. We can't just talk anymore." The audience applauded again, louder this time. Oliver had struck a chord. "I didn't come here to fight with you, Stephen," Oliver continued. "I came here because I thought we were colleagues who respected each other's work, even when we disagree." "We are," Colbert insisted, looking genuinely regretful now. "I do respect you, John, more than almost anyone else in this business." "You have a funny way of showing it," Oliver replied, but some of the anger had gone out of his voice. Colbert took another step toward him. "Look, I messed up. I went too far. I was trying to create good television, and I lost sight of the fact that you're not just a character or a foil. You're my friend." The sincerity in Colbert's voice was unmistakable. The audience watched, riveted, as Oliver seemed to consider his words. "The thing is, Stephen," Oliver said after a moment, "this isn't just about me and you. It's about what we're teaching our audiences. Are we teaching them that the only way to discuss different viewpoints is through combat? That entertaining conflict matters more than honest conversation?" Colbert nodded slowly. "You're right. You're absolutely right." He turned to face the audience and the cameras. "Folks, what you just witnessed wasn't planned. It wasn't a bit. It was me crossing a line with someone I respect deeply, and I'm sorry for that." The audience murmured in surprise at this unexpected turn. Colbert looked back at Oliver, who remained at the edge of the stage. "John, I apologize, sincerely. What I did wasn't fair, and it wasn't worthy of either of us." The studio fell completely silent as everyone waited for Oliver's response. He stood there for what felt like an eternity, considering Colbert's words. Finally, Oliver spoke. "Apology accepted." The audience broke into relieved applause, but Oliver held up his hand to quiet them. "But I'm still leaving," he continued firmly, "not because I'm angry anymore, but because I think what happened here tonight deserves reflection, not a quick patch-up job and business as usual." Colbert nodded slowly, accepting Oliver's decision. "I understand. Maybe next time we can have the kind of conversation that actually moves things forward," Oliver suggested, "instead of the kind that just raises blood pressure and ratings." "I'd like that," Colbert replied sincerely. With that, Oliver gave a small nod to the audience and walked off stage. The cameras followed him until he disappeared behind the curtain. Then they turned back to Colbert, who stood alone in the center of the stage, looking uncharacteristically subdued. "We'll be right back," Colbert said quietly to the camera before the show cut to commercial. The incident immediately exploded online. Colbert-Oliver showdown began trending within minutes. Video clips spread across social media platforms like wildfire. News outlets rushed to cover the unprecedented confrontation between two of late night's biggest stars. Some viewers praised Oliver for standing up for himself and for journalistic integrity. Others defended Colbert's right to challenge his guest. Television critics wrote lengthy analyses of what the confrontation revealed about the state of political discourse and the role of comedy in that discourse. Both hosts remained silent on social media in the immediate aftermath, fueling further speculation. Their silence spoke volumes about the genuine nature of the conflict. This hadn't been a planned stunt or a coordinated bit. By morning, the confrontation had become the most discussed moment in late-night television in years. It had struck a nerve because it wasn't just about two comedians having a spat. It was about the larger questions of how we talk to each other when we disagree, how media shapes that conversation, and whether entertainment value should ever trump honest dialogue. Whether their friendship would recover remained to be seen. But one thing was certain. In an era of carefully scripted moments and manufactured controversy, their raw, honest conflict had given viewers something increasingly rare, an authentic moment of truth on television.